Okay, so today we're going to go through our combined systems and nonlinear systems test. Okay, so let's just delve right into it. The first one. The area of a rectangle is 348 square feet. Let me see if I can zoom in on that one. There we go. Let's do some focus. Okay, the area of a rectangle is 348 square feet. That's the first statement. Okay, at this point, you recognize that the area of a rectangle is the length times the width, and they said that it is 348 square feet. So immediately we can eliminate from consideration any of the answer choices that do not have that first equation. So that allows us to eliminate choice C and choice D. The second statement is the length is, so L is 5 feet longer than twice the width. So that implies 5 plus twice the width, which is 2W. So you're looking for one that has something similar to 5 plus 2W and have length times width is 348. And so our only choice that's comparable is A. And that's it. B implies that the width is 2 times the length plus 5, which is not what we're looking for. Okay. For number 2, if you were solving for the number of buses and vans for the senior class trip, what type of answers would not be reasonable? Well, you can't have a negative bus and you can't have a negative van. So, the key word is what is not reasonable. So, negative numbers are not reasonable. You can't drive half a van either. However, you can drive positive numbers. So, you're looking for the answer choice that has both 1 and 2. And so the correct response was C. Now, the second equation, or this number 3, two parent functions are being represented in the following system, or what two parent functions are being represented in the following system. Well, this is quadratic. We know it's quadratic because it has x to the second power. And this is linear because we have x to the first power. And so we're looking for quadratic and linear, and that's answer choice C. This was very much a, hi, do you know what you're looking at question. For the next one, you have that Joe wants to solve the system of linear equations algebraically. And how does he do it? Well, he set the two equations equal to each other, cleared the fraction, and combined the like terms to get 2x squared minus 12x plus 14 is equal to 0. What would be an appropriate method Joe could use to solve the equation? Well, you recognize that you actually have a equation. Again, it was 2x squared minus 12x plus 14 is equal to 0. And you recognize, oh, this is a second degree trinomial. This is a quadratic. And so to solve this, you would use the quadratic formula. You very clearly would not use the Pythagorean theorem. It's not a right triangle. And you would very clearly not use logs because you don't have an alternate number base. So that was fun. Again, this was an example of, hi, do you know what you're looking at? Okay, so for the next one, it says use the following to answer questions 5 and 6. Apex and Acme are two competing businesses. Apex pays its employees $30 per day plus a 10% commission on their sales. Acme pays its employees $10 per day and 20% commission on the amount of sales. Let X be the amount of sales. Now, that means that means that the percentages are being applied to x. Now immediately you can eliminate from consideration those that do not correctly depict percentages. 10% of the sales would be 0.10x, or just 0.1x, and 20% would be 0.20x. This immediately eliminates answer choices A and B from consideration because these do not have the appropriate decimals. Actually, without even going much further, you can also eliminate D because this is 1% and this is 2%, not 10 and 20% respectively. So in a lot of ways, this was not even a systems problem. This is high. Do you know how to do basic decimal to percentage conversions? And so after how many sales would an employee at Acme have to do to make a better deal? Now that you've found your two equations, you can go on ahead and you can plot it on your calculator. And so you start by clearing your calculator, then you go to your y equals, you say okay, 0.10x plus 30, and then you compare it to 0.20x plus 10. Now before you actually try and graph this, you think for a moment, okay, I'm going to go to my window. Obviously, we are not going to have negative sales, and we are not going to have negative money. Now, the highest value that they gave you was 300, so that seems like a very good endpoint for your graph. Now, the actual pay, you won't get a good fix for it, but it's always a good idea to start by making your grid square so you get a picture of what it looks like. So let's just say from 0 to 300 as well. And when we graph it, let's see if it comes out anything intelligent. We see that we have a point of intersection, and we didn't have to go all the way to 300. So we'll go back to the window, and instead of going from 0 to 300 on the y, let's go on ahead and go from 0 to 100 and see how that looks. Now we see a better and more clearly defined point of intersection. You understand that Acme is the one where you start with less money, but you have a higher rate. This is where you overtake. And so you're trying to figure out the value of x where the point of intersection is. You can have the calculator trace the point of intersection, and it gives you an x value of 200, which is the point of intersection, which is what we were looking for. We could have solved it algebraically, but in the interest of time, and since you had access to the calculator, you should have gone on ahead and done that. The trick was, did you know that you were looking for the point of intersection? Okay, and did you know that you were looking for the sales, which was clearly identified in the previous prompt as the x? Okay.